anything good otherwise.
Okay.
I've never known you not to just keep on going, Kevin.
Yeah.
We'll have a good time. Actually, I was telling Jeff, pretty good CXO Modern Retail Conference. So this is to me, an exciting time to be in automotive. We can talk about that, but I mean that.
Yeah.
I
What store are you at right now? Because you've been there before for one of these shows. I recognize that background.
Oh, I'm at our corporate office, but I'm actually in another office because this office is powered by our backup generator. Mine isn't.
Oh, they shafted you on the hookup, huh?
Yeah, so I was scrambling a little bit here, but it's all worked out.
Gotcha.
The only other rooms that have power right now appear to be the bathrooms, but I didn't think you wanted me to take my laptop in there.
That would be a first for
Oh.
Refresh
Maybe
Friday.
first.
Fortunately,
You don't refresh, and then I can hit it for the audio.
That'll work. A little soundboard action.
Yeah.
The porcelain soundboard. Yeah, we've had people driving in their cars, which is probably the worst.
Okay, I don't feel bad.
Yeah, we've had one or two of those.
Yep. And it's like they show up and like, man, you're in your car. You know that your cell phone service while you drive down the road is not going to keep a good video feed rolling.
Well, I was worried doing this with our backup generator if I'd have the full bandwidth, but I think I'm coming across your camera okay.
If you hadn't told us you had the terrorists attacking your electrical grid, we would have never known.
Dude, if you saw where I live, I'm like off the grid. We've got a Generac because there's like 22 people in our grid. And when a power goes out, we're like very dead last to get fixed. So we learned that early on.
What do you have backup?
It's a Generac, a backup generator. We have a separate propane tank for it.
Okay.
Propane, cool. Yeah. All right.
I've got a big generator, but I don't have it all plugged in going through the house. There's a couple different converters and stuff you can get, but what I do have is a handful of the EcoFlow battery generators.
5 seconds, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a handful of EcoFlows along with the solar panels as well.
We thought about the solar route when I was building, and it would probably take me 25 years to pay them off. But in the last few years, between how much better the panels have gotten, the credits, I'd reconsider. So
yeah,
we did it. Yeah. We put an 18.7 is it kilowatt system up there. It's like 81 panels on our roof. It's crazy. And it's been 10 years. And, sometimes during the winter when the panels are covered with snow for many months, I'll get an electric bill. But it's not much.
If you produce more electricity, are you able to push it back to the power plant?
Yeah, we sell everything we produce.
That anymore here. That used to be very common, but I think they stopped.
Huh. I know they're still doing it in this area. I just received a brochure in the mail over it. Yeah.
So what you're saying is hillbillies in Ohio. That's what I'm hearing, Jeff.
Say again.
It's just us hillbillies in Ohio.
Oh, yeah. Well,
generating that electricity.
Buddy, I'm 10 minutes from West Virginia, so.
Okay. Have you ever seen the wild whites of West Virginia?
Yes.
That is going to be my parting statement in today's show. Here's your walkaway. Tonight, watch the Wild Whites of West Virginia, and your ratings will never restore.
That's a great show.
Sue Bob. Oh my gosh, that's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So
I'll have
somebody
to go
wrote
back
me
and
on
watch
watching
that one. I've got an illegal version of one on DVD called Bum Fights.
that.
I do. You get
It's right
it
behind
was
his
removed
Faces
from the
of Death
shelves.
CD.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Same
This
premise to
sounds
the
like
dog
a whole other
hungry.
topic. The worst videos
Yeah.
and documentaries we've seen.
Yeah, these people would pay bums to fight and they would record it. You're just like, this is horrible. But yeah,
Man,
bum fights. I have it on DVD.
I'll be first
yeah.
in line to borrow it, Jeff.
I'll ship it
Oh,
to you.
God.
You
And
can
I
keep
think Joe Webb is right. That Jeff probably has a lot of illegal versions of a few videos.
it.
Yeah, there you go. Am
No.
I able to see the comments as they come? Oh, now I see it. Okay. Right. It must be
Yep.
a little bit delayed here. How you
Well,
doing, Joe Webb?
Kevin, it's great to have you, man. It's been a while. We appreciate it. What have you been up to, man?
I'm always busy. In fact, this week we just opened a new Hyundai Point at one of our auto malls. I thought that the longer I was in my career, the more free time I'd have as I could delegate authority. But it seems to be quite the opposite. But it's great. This is an exciting time. We can talk about it. I'm reinvigorated, so it's all good, friends.
Excellent. What has you reinvigorated? I'm always struggling to find those those things will help reinvigorate me.
Well, for us old whippersnappers here on the show, I mean,
You
the
had to
last
say
big thing was
whippersnapper.
just the advent of the internet and websites, right? Bringing that out, transitioning from the traditional way of marketing into digital, etc. But right now, between the massive amounts of data that is available to us and finally the ability to leverage and act upon it by using AI is just creating new solutions left and right. And I think this is going to really be a big transitional time in our industry to become not only much more efficient, but more consumer facing. And so we're definitely on board with that. Already have some creative things we're trying to do. And for the folks that are out there, especially the young ones, this is a great time to be in automotive. I mean that.
Especially if you didn't come in when the paychecks were super huge, and now you're saying,
Yeah.
Yes, yes. That was a temporary time in there. So
yes, it was.
I'm sure it's been a revolving door here lately for many dealerships.
you know, I would say this, and I try to look at this on the upside because I'm constantly teaching economics 101 to my team every morning. We touch this. So, if a real traditional cycle, 7 years of growth, 2 years recession, 7 years of growth, 2 years recession. Growth for us is normally a volume play, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the recession is the efficiency play. You're going to be selling less cars. How do you control expenses? How can you do things more efficiently? And the timing of this whole thing between first party data and AI, and I can share some things we're looking to do. We're looking to take a lot more of this stuff in house, be way more efficient, and do it better than the way we have. And a lot of that is driven because of a slower economy.
Yep. Get to pay attention to
You
it, right?
you mentioned you're going to bring things in house. Elaborate. What are you looking to bring in house?
Well, let me say this first. So I know CDP is the big buzzword. And in fairness, in my opinion, it shouldn't be a buzzword. CDP is not new. A customer data platform was started by the Fortune 500s. It's been around for years, and we as consumers have already been active working with, I should say, CDPs in the interactions we have. For example, if you go to delta.com or American Express, they recognize your number when you call. They thank you because they see your lifetime value for being a Diamond Medallion member, whatever the case may be. It's not a new concept, but automotive is really late to the game. So this entire year for us, and I spoke about this last year at Digital Dealer, was about setting up our first CDP. I'm convinced that the majority of the folks in the automotive industry, to include a lot of people in the show today, are like, I keep hearing about this, but can someone just give me some clear direction on what to do? And I tried to share that last year, and we're following it. And I said it's a 3-step process for your first year. You get your CDP, you choose your provider, but you consolidate all of your data points into the CDP, step one. Step two is you complete your data hygiene to clean up that data. And then step three, the simplest, is just to use that data to feed your current providers that are currently using either your DMS or your CRM, which is horrible data. So if you have a Team Velocity or a Force Marketing, or you're doing a direct mail, instead of feeding them that garbage data, give them your CDP data. And the analogy I draw is that it's marketing fuel. Right now, our octane of DMS data is probably about 36, but after a CDP play, I can take it up to about a 98 octane and get incredibly better results just because of the quality of the data we have. So that is what we're literally wrapping up as we go through December. It has been a year-long effort. It's not as simple as you think, but next year is when we're looking to take action on it. And I can share some ideas from there, but let me be quiet for a minute.
Well, we got a question from Joe. He's asking what CDP you're using and why.
All right, Joe's going to ask the pressing question. So I spent 18 months doing due diligence on all the CDP providers. I'm going to tell you my choice, but I want to say first, Jeff Waller Automotive family is big. We do over $2 billion in revenue a year. We have more assets than most dealers. Okay. The reason why I share that is we can not only look at the automotive CDPs that you see out there, but we can look at the big players that are servicing the Fortune 500s, like a Treasure Data or a Telium or something like that. After researching all of them, I'll give you my first simplest piece of advice, which is going to aggravate a lot of people. And I've said this on a few stages. When you ask them for their pricing model and they give you a per rooftop pricing model, I'd run for your life. The whole point of a CDP is to have one central place for your data. I don't want 23 different data points. That's what I'm trying to get away from. I want one central data point, my CDP. So if they're doing a pricing per model, I'm going to send them out. I literally had one quote from a CDP provider that was $700,000 more per year than the next closest. So now I'm going to give you the answer, Joe, directly. We chose Orbi. There's a lot of great providers out there. For me, candidly, I think Orbi was the most honest with me. I would go out, I'd ask a lot of questions, and I'd say, could you put me on the moon in 3 days? And everybody would say yes. But Orbi would be honest and say no. They were willing to tell me, yes, we can do it. No, we cannot, or it'll take us a year. And they were giving us the flexibility to own our entire data. So if at any point in time I wanted to walk away, we could. And I did feel that they had an automotive advantage because the big Fortune 5 players, like I named, typically what they do is they have one or two people that have some automotive experience to run that division for them, but they're not nearly as good as someone that's automotive specific. And for us in that case was Orbi, and that's where we went.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with it, but not overly familiar with it. I'll have to check it out.
Well, so this past weekend, I did our CXO group and then Modern Retail Conference, and they were focusing on CDP as well. And I'll share with you some of the directions we're going as we go into next year. So my strategy next year, step one is where can I replace current providers? So think about this, and it should drive each one of us nuts. We pay a fortune to third-party providers to leverage our first-party data to go out and market. Why can't we do this ourselves? So one of the simplest things, like right now, I'm spending about 60 grand a year just on data appends, do not call, and whatnot to update our CRM tool when I'm already performing that data hygiene. Not only that, doing it every day instead of once a month and doing it better. Boom, I just knocked out 60 grand right there. One of the cool things I saw, I want to give credit to this. This is Morgan Auto Group. what they're doing. So one of the key data points is going to be all your website data, right? And by the way, side note, we threw our scripts up in February and already have over 25 million events collected. This is massive amounts of data you're bringing in. But what Morgan did was they looked at their service scheduling tool and they're using Reynolds. And everyone here should be aware that the abandonment rate on these service scheduling tools is horrific. But they're frame ends, right? So you don't get to typically see that.
They don't
So
usually work on mobile devices either.
absolutely.
That's
So they
why.
threw out the pixels to be able to see on their scheduling tool that, hey, if somebody abandoned, that information real time went to their CDP. Then they're taking that, communicating to an outsourced BDC solution that turns around and calls that person back or emails them. I'll come back to that in a second and says, we see that you were unable to complete scheduling your service. Can we help you? And they had a 1/3 jump. People, A, surprised that they called back so quickly, and B, were thankful for their help to schedule that service. Now, I'm going to back up in a second. So let's think about this. You're on your service scheduling tool. You might have entered a phone number. Simple enough. We can call them back. What if they just entered an email address? Well, that's the benefit of a CDP, because if it matches up in your first party data and you have a phone number already in that customer, you can feed that to your outsourced provider. They call them real time. And just think about how much simpler it becomes to schedule service and all these people that you're missing every single day because these online tools are not that good.
Great point. I love
Just
that idea.
one idea. Just one idea. I mean, these things, I'm telling you, I was talking to Jeff earlier. I mean, it reinvigorates me too, because let's really think about this. For the last 25 years at least, we've been taking the same doggone strategies. Equity mining, it's the same filters, it's the same approach. Why can't we do some stuff that's more creative and more personalized with the massive amounts of data, the AI to leverage on it? This is where I'm getting excited, and I'm convinced we're going to keep seeing newer and more exciting solutions. This January will only be the second time I'm going to NADA, which I usually avoid like the plague, because I want to see the latest solutions. That's how big it is to me.
I can't believe you've only been to 2 NADAs. Well, this will be your second.
I got to share a story. Hey, it's Friday. Let's have some fun. If you remember when I spoke at NADA, I shared a story. So if you're old enough to remember the TV show, The $6 Million Man,
Mm-hmm.
and in the intro, the plane crashes, and they're showing like this little computer screen of "We will rebuild them," and it goes like, and it's doing all these letters printing out, real high tech for 1973. And so I played that. And then my statement was, and this is proof that Reynolds hasn't updated their DMS since 1974. It brought down the house. NADA was not too happy with me. But I thought it made a good point that we looked like we were still stuck with mainframe technology for all those years. Maybe that's why I haven't been back to NADA.
That may be.
Oh, gosh.
So Joe's
It's
got
like,
another question for you.
Okay.
So follow up on the CDP question here. He's asking if you believe 1 to 2 rooftop groups should invest in CDPs.
I love this question. Thank you, Joe. So here's the difference, and I've stated this too. If I'm Johnny Single Point or some really small group, then myself personally, I wouldn't buy a direct CDP. I would get one of these what I call hybrid solutions, something like Outsel's doing, or some of the others, where they're acting both as essentially your CDP and your marketing actionable platform all combined in one, and they'll work alongside you to make that active. So I love that question, Joe. That's a good follow on when I was talking about we have a much bigger resources in most groups, but that's what I would pursue if I was smaller. And I missed Ryan's there.
So Ryan was, well, actually before that, Julio was pointing out Jeff walking around NADA with Google Glass.
Julio, hey, I had it's Kevin, but yeah, I had just got the Google Glass. I remember running into a few people with those things. So actually,
Mhm.
these are them right now. So yeah.
I think it's you and Eric Milch had the first ones.
Yep.
I
Believe
recall
it or
that.
not, I won mine in some online contest. If who has the best idea of what you would do with these, and our idea was to use them for like a car walk around, something like that, and won the $3,000 pair of Google Glass. And I
Nice.
don't even know where they are now. I think my son took them to school one day. And that's the last I saw them. So,
Now,
I
the
think they
cool
got new
kids
ones
are
out,
walking
don't they?
around.
yeah, they're like built into Ray-Bans or something, I think.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
what I thought. Huh.
I mean, there's definitely some potential now with AR. So
We were early on with that, had a lot of fun with it. As I said, my big focus right now is what I can take in house. I mean, I think with our own first party data, and we're complementing that as well. Why can't we do a lot of our own equity mining? I really would like to determine the Fortune 500s. The reason why they use CDPs is because they're trying to keep people, it's customer retention. They're trying to keep them in a customer life cycle. What we have in automotive, God bless them, whether it's like a Team Velocity or Force, it's kind of me like a bubble gum rubber bands. How do we make a whole life cycle with the available tools? And they did the best with what's available and with crappy first party data from us. I want to replicate the same thing, but here's my honest question to everyone on here. What's your current customer retention? And by the way, when I ask that, like a digital dealer or something, it's crickets. And you know why? Nobody knows. That's how bad we are at managing first party data. So, step one is I got to see what's our current customer retention rate. And then am I improving it or am I losing? That is the primary KPI that the Fortune 500s are doing. And so then how do you do, what are they measuring from there? A lot of them do lifetime value of customers. So I've seen one solution in automotive that's trying to tackle that. If you look at like an automotive mastermind, which is essentially a CDP tool, they're ahead of the curve. They have like a propensity score, right? 0 to 100, A, B, C, D. Those are the type of measurements that we want to write the book on and what's going to work best for us to try and retain more customers in the future.
Hmm. You you had mentioned you had breezed over AI and how you're seeing that potentially working with your CDP.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Elaborate.
So I'm going to go back a few years. I can go back even further than that. VinLens, where you can live and see what people are doing on the website, which pages they visit, and everything. And to me, looking back, that's really a small amount of information. Let's try and train our salespeople to review it, see that they're looking at trucks, how they respond to it, etc. Then fast forward, and I used DealerX. By the way, still use DealerX at some stores. And so they were way ahead of the curve on gathering massive amounts of data. But what we would find is within 48 to 72 hours, we were so overwhelmed with the amount of data we couldn't execute on it. Cool tool. But what do we do with all this data? There's nobody in the right mind can read through all of it, let alone make it actionable. To me, the defining moment has been that AI can read through millions of lines of data points, and if you set it up correctly, can make it actionable. So, for example, the one I just gave you in the service scheduling in real time, it can tell you customer abandoned, matches up here, sends the phone number to the outside BDC that calls them up to schedule the appointment versus someone trying to track through all those points. But more so, and once again, listen, we're writing the book on this. This is what innovation is about. Um, I just mentioned we have over 25 million events in less than a year collected on the websites. How in the world can Kevin do anything with that? I can't myself, but if I apply AI and machine learning to, for example, see common patterns across those events, that turn into sales or turn into appointments and then sales, those are patterns that I would want to be, in good understanding of, so I could try and replicate that, sell more cars, schedule more service, etc. And that's why I keep looking out at these AI solutions. That's the thing, it's getting a bad rap. Everyone's like, oh, it's another buzzword. No, it's not. It
Right.
is transforming not just the automotive industry, but every industry. I'll tell you one of the key things, and I shared this with Jeff the other day. I can't take credit for this, but I believe in it 100%. People should not be afraid that AI is going to replace their job, but they better be afraid of someone that knows how to leverage AI, because they will replace their job. And that's what this is all about right now, is we need to learn how to do that.
Chris Leslie wants to know if you got any examples of things that you've changed based on learnings from an AI solution.
Boy, we go a long way with that. I'll give you a simpler one. So we put Marchex in across our entire group. And one of the strong reasons on that was just because it would directly send data into our GA4. So they led there. But AI going through and basically reading the transcript of every phone call and showing which people are setting appointments the best, who's doing the least. I mean, that every Monday we send out a report that for each store just shows, here's your salespeople, who's at the bottom of the list of setting appointments, and then they can coach and train those people. That's a real simple part of that. But now the next thing, and I know that I believe it's Car Wars is doing this. I'm pushing our provider to do it. But think about this from AI. Let's say you do mystery shops. We do mystery shops internally, and we try to measure people on phone calls. Well, if I have 5 things that I want to measure, why can't I give that to my telephony provider, program that into the AI, and it'll go through every call and then score those people and say, Alex introduced himself by name, Alex gave the hours of the dealership, and Alex asked for the appointment, whatever the case may be, but failed to do these 2 other things. And now AI has automated a process that we've always done manually. We become more efficient while also becoming more consumer facing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good comment from Ryan here that I think backs you up even further on that front. He said, when humans analyze data, we often seek to confirm our own assumptions and biases, whereas the AI is just a program that's going to do what you tell it to do.
Yeah, I agree. And Ryan's way smarter than me. This is all of us bring those biases in. And I've had to fight with that from day one, because, we've done a lot of innovation here. And sometimes you think something's going to go one way and you're going to kind of bias towards that way because you hope that's the case. But then you got to balance it out. I'm going to give you another simple example. And so we do a user experience study every year. We try to get relevant questions that are current to what's going on, bring in 12 people, different backgrounds. We ask them questions, record the answers. So one of them was, do you prefer to schedule service online or via the phone? And the thing that was insightful about the answers was, first, most of the people said they prefer to schedule service online because it's quick, it's convenient, they don't get transferred on phone calls, get stuck and hold, things to that nature. But then the thing that came out, but a lot of people said, but I can't always schedule service online because I'll get to step 3 and it says, what do you want done? And my answer is, I don't know. My car is going clickety clack, clickety clack. There's no box to check for that. And we're assuming that they know what to schedule. When they don't, they need to talk to a live human being. So then this is where you got to have that balance of user experience versus the technology you have in place. And you have to have a good balance, because the telephones, for example, are not going away. There's always going to be cases where we as humans got to be involved. And there's other cases we can drive some efficiency with, in this case, a service scheduling tool, et cetera.
The other one that drives me nuts, and I try to use the online form with one of my dealers here, they've got it all in codes. So like it'll be their code for the service and then it'll say oil change. But you get into some other ones where it's a code and it's 30K service, but
Mhm.
there's 5 codes with 30K service next to one another. You don't know which one you're
Yeah.
supposed to click at all.
And it'd be nice if we could standardize that across a group. I don't want to
Mhm.
sidetrack too much, but service scheduling tools still have got a long way to go. And I want to emphasize in all humility, it's our fault. It's not easy. Do not do a good job providing availability of hours. There's a lot of internal politics involved. I don't want to schedule late in the day, things to that nature.
Like,
So I'll blame on the consumers. That's being shown by that massive abandonment rate, which is way higher than 70% on these pages. Probably another reason why they want to frame it in so you can't see it. Um, but I actually, one of the things I think we are supposed to chit chat about today was digital retailing.
yeah.
I'd like to give that a little
You want
tackle if I could.
to
I am
tackle away,
not
my
anti
friend?
digital retailing. And I think what's going on right now
Yes, you are.
is that dealers have been using it wrong from day one. They think it's a tool to buy online. And I know it's
The
called digital
OEMs.
retailing, but I'm going to disagree with you all day long. It's an engagement tool. All right. Joe Webb will agree with me on this all day long. It's been the same 3 calls to action since Henry Ford opened his first dealership. How much for my trade? How much per month? And can you get me financed? Those are the same 3 hot points in every digital retailing tool. And what you're doing is you're winning the battle for yes when they go to your virtual battlefield, your dealership website, because you're answering questions, the 3 primary questions, you're building value, and you're earning the yes. So I want to emphasize we have between 50 to 60,000 penciled deals per month with our DR tool. But here's the other key mistake dealers have been making, and that's not going to be everybody on here. But if you have any type of gate, the unlock price, and you got to provide your information and all that stuff, it should be no surprise that those solutions typically were subdomains to hide the abandonment rate on that. Our solution allows you to be anonymous the entire process, part of the process, wherever you want to be. But the idea is you've got to allow the consumer to have control to get answers to the questions they have to get them to come in the showroom. And DR has been a home run for us.
We did that. Came out as an engagement tool, and dealers didn't like it. They wanted leads.
We're our own worst,
Mhm.
100%, Alex, 100%. I'll agree with you all day long in that we're our own worst enemy, and then vendors going to deliver exactly what the customers are asking for. You're right.
Yep. Yep. You're getting a lot of agreeing comments right now.
Well, I will say, and for the folks that are familiar, we do have a fully transactional digital retailing tool. In fact, we just this year sold the first 11 new cars in automotive history fully transactional, and it's not Carvana or Tesla. Those are not transactional. It's like my example with them is you think you bought that Tesla or Carvana car, and then you hit buy now, and it says we'll get right back to you because a call center, a human being has to get involved to complete that transaction. Our first deal was on a Wednesday night at 11:30. The dealerships were closed, the banks were closed, and we fully sold the car. Now, I want to also emphasize as a very leading edge innovator in this area, it's a very tiny part of the market. It's less than 2% per Cox. I would say less than 1% right now that want to transact 100% online. Do I think it's going to grow? Yes, it's going to take time. But the way it should be viewed as it's just an additional channel to buy a car. One of the areas where we found some popularity with it is overseas deals. This is similar. We were first in the industry to do the first cryptocurrency
That's right.
And we still do some. Those
Yeah.
are popular for overseas deals because it's instead of like a 1 week hold on cash, it's like 48 hours for us. It's quicker for the
Hmm.
consumer, quicker for the
Well, and you've
dealer.
also gone from a quarter or a bunch of Bitcoins to like, here's a tenth of a Bitcoin for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, in that solution, I think there's 11 different cryptocurrencies they can choose from. They can mix it up. They're paying the fee. And by the way, I remember when we come out with this, I swear you get haters when you innovate too.
Of course.
It's like, oh my God, the risk you're taking, and if that Bitcoin drops overnight, you're going to get drilled. When we transact on the crypto side, we're guaranteed that sum of the money, the sum of money. And the company that we're working with in the middle is bearing the risk. If it goes up, they benefit. It goes down, they benefit. But they're getting a fee that the customer pays, so they're offsetting that risk. But once again, I'm not like all in on cryptocurrency. It's an additional channel on how to buy a car and transact.
Well, they're probably sitting pretty right now. What Bitcoin hit 98? Still flitting around 98?
Yeah, it's heading towards 100, isn't
Maybe
it?
I should have got
99?
in more aggressively on that game. So,
Yes.
yeah, I think.
Dude, you don't want to hear my story.
You went the wrong way.
Well,
Don't try and buy a car with your crypto from Jeff Weiler. That's today's lesson, Jeff.
Don't worry.
yep,
No,
got out too soon, right?
yeah. Well, I'll tell the quick story because it wrecks my gut every time I think about it. My son, at the time, I don't know, 12, maybe 13, and he wanted to purchase an online game. Well, they would only accept through Bitcoin. I didn't have any Bitcoin. I knew what it was, but I wasn't really familiar. My son encouraged me. He's like, Dad, just buy $50 worth of Bitcoin so we can get the game. The game was like $43. After all said and done, I think there was about $4.86 left in my Coinbase account. It was a long time ago. So 4 years ago, probably 4 or 5, I you know what? I'm going to get back into this crypto and take a check. I totally forgot that I had a Coinbase account. So I did, it gave me the prompt. You already have an account. So I did the password. I logged in and I got so sick of my stomach because that left over $4.36.
Was your son's college education?
Yes. Plus some.
Oh my God.
My son's, my daughter's, mind if I want to go back.
And here we are on a Friday afternoon doing our little show, and we could be all retired on a beach somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. Rub it in.
Oh, God.
I would still do this, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
it's
really fun to just go out there. I'll tell you, some of the folks, if you've demoed some of the outbound telephony AI solutions.
I was going to get ready to ask you about that because we had a note down here about that.
Oh, yeah. So, first off, I think a lot of us that have been doing this for a while, we all got a stale taste in our mouth with AI, with Conversica. And, God bless Conversica. They were working with what they had. If you had a Stellantis point, it was mandated, all that good stuff. It was a real base level AI, obviously not that good. And then I remember a few years back, or whatever, being at a show, and I went and they kind of drugged me in, but I demoed Impel. And I was blown away at how much better it is because machine learning improves exponentially. And so now I'm starting to see some of these outbound telephony solutions. And if you do it, ask it the most goofiest questions you can. But number one, it sounds realistic. It answers pretty much anything and everything. And I'm thinking one of the next waves of efficiency for us is I've spent a career coaching and training and incentivizing salespeople on how to follow up on leads, try and set appointments, setting up BDCs, all that stuff. What if you could set that up with outbound telephony and that could do the heavy lifting for you? We're already using sales AI. So we're using Impel, and it sets a ton of appointments every month without our people ever lifting a finger. They come in the next morning. And because 40% of that shopping activity is outside dealership hours, if it can answer that, one of the things I'm shopping for at NADA, and I probably shouldn't say this because now I'm going to get like 5,000 phone calls after this show, but a good AI based chat solution. And so I've seen some that's out there. The problem is you tell me your best customer and I go to their website and I start putting in questions and you're showing me the best of the best and I can usually not get the best. But I do believe that's going to be the next wave, that the chat, I'm telling you, we did this in our user experience study, by the way. We asked about, are you aware you're interacting with AI? And it was over 90% of them. Like, yeah, I'm aware. And then, so does it bother you? And they're like, no. If it answers a question quickly and accurately, I'm pretty game. I mean, there's going to be cases and you break out of that. I share this story because I've dealt with it the last year. I get GMs that'll always come up and say, look at this AI transcript right here. Did you see what AI answered? It was absolutely horrible. And I'll look at it and I say, well, here, let's hold on a second. And then they'll tell me, we got to get rid of AI. Got to get rid of AI. It doesn't work. I've seen this bad transcript.
That one
sounds
chat.
like a GM.
Yeah. Yep. Then what I'll do is I'll get out our telephony and I'll pull out 100 phone transcripts. And I said, you see our people answer this? Good God, we got to get rid of the phones. Got to get rid of the phones. It's horrible. They're terrible.
Got to get rid of those people.
Yeah. The truth is, and I'm literally seeing it every day, I'm watching AI outperform our salespeople over and over again. Here, I'll give you another. You were asking about how we're leveraging our CDP. We're early on. I'm going to give you one. We just talked about this modern retail. Right now, lead defects, right? So we're getting that data from Urban Science, but you can, let's say you find it out on your own. You put it in your CRM tool, right? And you're going to put it into bought same brand, different dealer, or bought different brand, different dealer. And you probably got some little hokey email, phone call process in your CRM tool to follow up, right? So what we're doing is we're bringing the Urban Science defection data into the CDP. We're merging it in with the CRM. And then if someone defects, what we're doing is we're sending them a tool that's embedded in SurveyMonkey. And it's an intelligent survey to go along to try and see why they defected. So even though we just started this a couple weeks ago, I can already tell you the first major pattern. So top 3 reasons they're defecting. Number 1 is your price too high. You're always going to get that. All right, put that one aside. Number 2 is you don't have what I'm looking for. Fair enough, inventory. But number 3 is the one that's got my attention. And the reason why I didn't buy from you is because your salesperson didn't answer my question. If any of you on here can tell me the magical secret on how to get salespeople to read a lead and answer a damn question consistently, I'd love to know. But I have fought this for 20 years. And now I've got the data to show it's provable point you're losing deals over this. But AI will answer the question. Mm-hmm. In worst case, if you break it, it's going to kick back to a human being, hopefully get some attention. But that's where I'm talking about more consumer facing. And by the way, the EV credits and rebate questions, I don't think we've trained on it. I don't think I've got a person in 1,500 employees that can do those well, but I watch AI pound those out and do pretty well.
We've got just posted yesterday an example, a real world example of an AI communication with a customer who wasn't really in the market. And the AI sort of drove the customer home a little bit, and just persistence. And where the first response from a customer to the AI was, "Hey, I was just trying to see what my car was worth." You know, how many salespeople would have stopped right there? Just said, "Oh, I'm not going to talk to that anymore."
Ones, Alex. I was pressing, over 2 years ago with Brook AI and Stella. So what's the thing about this? You're scheduling service online with AI. I've got the year, I got the make, I got the model, I got the mileage. Why aren't we giving them right there on the spot a value trade offer? Thank you, Alex, for your appointments on Tuesday at 1:00. We're looking for the car you're bringing in. We're willing to give you $14,000. Would you like some more information? That's one of the simplest AI plays that should be making someone a fortune right now.
I can tell you want to be a little careful with that because you can piss some people off pretty fast. But you want to have some guardrails on that thing. So,
Sure.
make sure like you're not hitting the person who's just coming in for their first oil change and they just bought that car from you, 3 or 6 months ago.
Yeah, but with AI, that
But
should be
yeah,
easy to filter out.
Sure.
Mhm.
Well,
It is.
well,
And you only offer it if you know there's some type of value in the vehicle.
I mean,
as we're doing this, you keep learning stuff. So that the survey thing I just told you about defected data, I had a bunch of surveys come back and said, yeah, I bought it at a different dealer, but it was a Jeff Weiler dealer. I'm like, damn it. It's one more filter I forgot. So you bought at a non-Jeff Weiler dealer. But let's open up another can of worms, because this is where I think on this technology where automotive is struggling. We are being held back by the CRM tools we have.
without a doubt.
Most of them are 20 plus years old. We're stuck with this ADF XML format. So if anything comes in new, it's just dropped into a comments field. And all of a sudden, we're talking just massive amounts of data. And I am convinced that someone's going to come out. I'm actually trying to frame this out for Cox Automotive, but a vision of what I'm trying to look for. Why don't we build a new platform from the ground up that leverages massive amounts of data, your CDP data, and other sources you might want to complement with, leverages AI to make it actionable? That would be a truly powerful platform that could reach across all these different areas. Why is that not integrated directly in with the websites? I'm talking about 25 million events in less than a year. But if you watch I put together a video last year called Dealership of the Future. It's on YouTube, called Dealership of the Future, Jeff Weiler page, to try and visualize some of this. And people are like, well, that's out to lunch. It's not. It's basically showing someone getting a personalized experience from front to back. And that is available out there. We just don't have the tools to act on it. If you want a really simple CDP play that I'd like to see next year, and you can laugh at me if you like, why is it when someone calls your dealership that you can't recognize them by name and how much money they've spent on you right out of the gate? If American Express and Delta have been doing that for about 10 years, I mean, think about it. That is how poor we are at managing our first party data. And it would go a million miles, I'm sure, if I answered the phone and said, hi, is this Jeff? Thank you, Jeff. I know you've spent over $120,000 with us. You're one of our most, valued customers. How can we help you today? I mean, something to that nature to make them feel special, keep them in the family, etc.
There's so many
We could banter
reasons
about all
why.
day with you.
Yeah.
Is which AI are you using?
We're leveraging Impel. That's a sales AI, some service. We're using Podium, which we're starting to test out. Marchex has a platform. But part of the pattern of what I'm starting to see right now is that a lot of the third-party providers know that they need to get involved in this AI game. So a lot of them are buying the same platforms or just white labeling them with different names. So you're seeing them resold by different vendors out in the space. And when I see someone, I gotta be careful what I say here. When I see a vendor that was a specialist for 5 years in one area, and then 6 months later, they're a jack of all trades, it's because they're partnering with all these different platforms to turn around and resell to us. I missed that question.
There weren't any questions. They were some comments. So, I mean, one here was the CDP providers have had to resort to building bots that continuously log into the CRM to scrape data due to the lack of robust APIs.
I believe that.
Yep.
And Ollie, here's another big challenge in doing a CDP is that I'm going out. I thought we were behind the curve. It turns out we're not. We're pretty early. But going to my current providers to set up to pull their data. So our live chat provider, we were their very first customer they've ever had that wanted to spit that data back into a CDP. So they literally had to recode their sites to be able to encrypt that data, to be able to send that data every night for us to be able to ingest it, etc. That's part of what you're running into. I'm going to share another piece of sage advice. Brian Pash was touching on this. And the problem is for dealers out there, or people working at dealerships is, how do you sell a CDP to your dealer principal? And the answer is, it's not simple, because what they're going to typically do is force you to sell it to the GMs, right? They're running their own kingdoms, getting paid in their bottom line. So that puts you in a position. Think about this. Alex, you're the GM. I'm going to tell you, Alex, I'm going to put the CDP in place and we should be able to save a lot of money. But by the way, it's going to take me about a year to build it out. So you're going to have an expense for an entire year that's going to hit your bottom line every month. And it's going to cut your check and everybody else in your team. And Alex is going to say, I only see in a 30-day window. I don't want to do your damn CDP thing. You have
There'd
to
be an F in there somewhere too.
Yeah. You got to sell it to the very top with someone who has a 60,000 foot vision of the long term benefits of this. But I'm convinced for every one of you on this show, the number one most valuable asset you have at your dealership is your first party data. It's probably split at a minimum between 11 to 13 different data points per rooftop right now. You need to build a foundation of bedrock with your first party data. The primary reason being is that when you go to example NADA this year and the following years and you see these spectacular solutions, the first question they're going to be asking you is your data. And you're going to say, I just have CDK or Dealer Track or Reynolds. And they're going to be like, hey, you're giving me some really crappy marketing fuel. But if you're the person that says, I have a CDP, whatever the name is, and I've consolidated, I've cleaned my first party data, they're going to be excited to work with you because you're in the best position to succeed.
I got to admit, I'm not bought in on the CDPs yet, but I do understand
I
where you're
like how,
coming from and what you're
yeah,
saying, especially with 30 rooftops.
yeah.
Well, let me suggest this. Why don't we do this 1 year from now? And I'll be able to show in 1 year how much money we've saved just by putting this into place and how much stuff we've taken in house. And for me, I mean, outside of some of the DR stuff we've done this year, usually I've got a lot of innovation coming out of this department. I feel like a dog that's been chained to a tree, trying to be patient to build this thing out. But next year, I'm excited to see what we can do with this and really take it to the next level. And I'm convinced I'm doing over 20 million a year in marketing. I should be able to cut a quarter of that easily, in my opinion, and do a better job.
One of the things that Weiler has that many stores don't is Kevin Frye. But the big thing behind Kevin Frye is you've been there a long time. I'm watching doors flapping fast on the front of dealerships right now, people going in and out nonstop. And this does take consistency. It takes bedrock and people.
Yeah. You bring it up. I think we've talked about that before. It's when I would do the dealer refresh write-ups after each show.
Mm-hmm.
And you get someone that speaks and overnight they become like a rock star automotive celebrity. And then they leave for greener pastures. And the next thing you know, they're bouncing and bouncing around their entire career. I get it, but in the same respect, I would say, especially our younger folks on the show, pick a good place and really grow a solid career. It's going to be good for you in the long run. I've been fortunate to be at Weiler. Gosh, this is my 18th year in-house. They were a customer of mine before that. That has given me the flexibility to grow, to innovate, and all that good stuff.
They've
I
been very
can't
good to you.
say I see people that have bounced around that have long-term done really well. It's tricky. It's tricky.
That's
Mm-hmm.
wisdom speaking there, folks.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
But you know what? In fairness, look at our dads. Back then, dads had like one job their entire career. Then it went up
Yep.
to like an average of 3 and then 7. And I couldn't even tell you what it is now. It's a fast-moving world.
The average is a little under 2 years right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
You know what? I tell you what made that? was all the people that got a job after COVID, and then last year they all quit at automotive dealerships.
Oh, I'm not speaking about the car business. This is just the world in general.
Yeah.
And it has been an ongoing trend for really like the last 20 years, just getting more and more.
Yeah.
People are just keep chasing the greener pastures. And I also think, I bet a lot of this is going to come out in the next couple of years as well. Like our attention spans today are so short.
Well, they're demolished.
Yeah.
YouTube actually puts those studies out each year about how much shorter and shorter and shorter the time of attention span gets.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to put out a compliment to you guys. And I've known you, gosh, pretty much my entire doggone career, all the way back when we were doing the message boards. Glenn, you're old just like me. I'm at this stage in my career that to me, it's so important to recognize and uplift the young talent, the next wave. We were once that wave of people. You guys are doing a good job identifying some of the younger talent we have out there, giving them a voice, giving them a platform to put the word out, because to me, that's one of the most exciting things too, is to give back to the same, to people just like people did for us when we were up and coming in the industry.
Appreciate it.
This 2025 is going to be 20 years of Dealer Refresh.
Yeah. 20 years.
That's hard to believe.
I know.
My funny story, the first time I met you guys in person, I think it was Digital Dealer 3 or something. And I don't remember if it was still called Digital Dealer then. It was in Nashville in a little tiny meeting room. And I was sitting in front of you guys and you're popping off jokes and sarcastic. And I turn around, I'm like, Jeff, Alex, it's about damn time we met. It was always going back and forth on the board, Jeff.
The rosin shingle, what it was or was it even there?
I don't know. Was that awards? I feel like that was awards, not digital.
It might. I think it had a different name in the very beginning.
Yeah.
That says something. That says I'm old, Glenn.
Says we're old.
Yeah. But no, it was great. But you know what? We were really a bunch of pioneers and cowboys out there writing the book. I keep emphasizing this stuff. There's no like pre-written book for automotive to me and CDP and all that stuff right now. We're writing it. That's what the innovators do. They write it and the other people follow it, try and improve it. And when you do that, you got to be willing to get those bloody noses and black eyes. I mean, I've had some big wins. I've had some big losers. It's just the nature of the game, but that's how you move forward.
Yep. You got to take risks.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you take that risk just a little too early. And then 10 years later.
The bombs that came back was QR codes.
I knew that was coming up.
Like $10,000 for a big. We had to do this sponsorship, this huge county fair for one of our auto malls. Bought T-shirts, T-shirt cannon, fans, anything we could slap a QR code on. You could imagine. By the time this thing was done, I think we had like 3 scans. I'm like, well, good God, that was an absolute complete bomb. Of course, they came back with COVID and everything, but that's one of those things where you just. I wasn't really directly involved in this one. Metaverse.
Yeah.
Some people dropped some big money in that, and I'm not dissing on them at all. They tried, it didn't work out. But
I remember you and I discussing your very first text campaign.
Yeah.
Now that was a flop. But that was forever ago, man.
Maybe that could be a whole episode. Biggest flops you're involved in automotive.
That would be fun.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Huh.
Yeah.
No doubt.
You know, we
anything to wrap up? Go ahead, Alex. Sorry.
I was just going to say, we've got the ability to bring on about 4 more people for one of these. It'd be fun to have a little go around. And what was your biggest flop?
Biggest 2 flops. We all got more than one.
Oh yeah, I've got more than one.
And they can't be women. Although I think all 3 of us are doing all right there.
I'm sticking in for the long term here.
Yep.
Yeah. No other way. Well, anything before we wrap up? Anything else that you want to touch
I
on?
would share with everyone, and I mean it, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, this is the most exciting time to be in automotive in a couple decades. It really
I'm trying to
is.
catch your fever.
Don't be threatened by the technologies out there. Get excited. I think the further we get along into this and you see the opportunities and potential, the more excited you're going to get. I think the folks that are kind of really early on with this stuff and seeing some of it might be getting more excited than the others, but I'm convinced it's going to be a transformational time for our industry the next 5 years.
I was speaking to Bill Playford yesterday for quite a while,
Yeah,
and
Bill's great.
we were having the same conversation. He was semi anti AI for a while, and now
Mhm.
I think he's the complete opposite, apparently. So, but we
I
had a
was
great
too.
conversation yesterday.
Were you really talking to Bill? It
It
might have
looked
been
like him.
AI. Might have been AI, Jeff.
He was on video, so
Hey, I got to say, there are solutions because we approached Jeff Wyler about this. He speaks like 4 pages into a monitor and it will exactly duplicate his voice. And we wouldn't have to do voiceovers if he wasn't available. We could use it. He's like, no, but it's
really,
out there. It's out there. I'm telling you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen
Oh,
him.
yeah, the
Yeah,
voice one is
he's good
very
computers.
easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
the video one, they still give you like 16 fingers and your eyes are like spinning
Somewhere there,
around.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
weird.
I've seen some really good ones the past 2 weeks.
There are some good ones.
It's learning exponentially. That's the thing. A year from now, it's going to be better. A year from that, even better. That's
Yeah,
what's really getting cool.
that's when it gets scary
Oh, yeah.
for overall. Well, Kevin, as usual, man, really appreciate you joining us. It's great to go over everything. When's NADA this year? Are you going to put together a party?
It's at the end of January,
It's in New
and I'm
Orleans.
speaking at the Automotive News Retail on Thursday morning. I'm speaking with Edmunds Thursday afternoon, and I'm spending the rest of my time working the floor. And I'm going to try and pre-plan as to who I want to visit and meet with and see what's going on. But that's my number one reason for going out of shopping.
We'll try and get you booked after NADA. See how your trip
Sure.
went.
Yeah, and I can give you an update on where we're at with CDP and activating on the what we've got and all that good stuff because that's where people should really be getting excited.
And I know this is a stupid question, but you are going to, or you already are tracking the phone calls from the abandoned uh, service scheduler, right?
I'm working on that right now. That's Morgan
Okay.
Automotive idea.
Okay.
So we've got Techion and X Time, and so I'm working right now to drop the pixels to set it up. So hopefully
Okay.
I'll have an update on that for you then.
That's going to be some really cool numbers at the end of that.
Just one thing. And Morgan was saying they had a third lift. So think of the millions upon millions of dollars of revenue they're generating from one simple play. And
That's
all
great.
they're doing is leveraging their first party data. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. All right,
Yep.
gentlemen, make it a great weekend and a great Thanksgiving as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Kevin. Take
having me.
care, guys.